Well, good evening. Perhaps it's good morning for you, or it's good afternoon, depending on if you're watching our live broadcast or you may be watching our replay right now. So, I want to welcome you to the Fireplace Show. And what's the Fireplace Show? The Fireplace Show is a broadcast that goes out through various internet channels, and it's where we try to educate American consumers in things about their fireplaces, their wood stoves, their chimneys, and other things. And tonight I got a very special guest as always. His name is Tom Hunkel, and he is the president of the National Chimney Sweep Guild. He's also a practicing chimney sweep in Des Moines, Iowa. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. We're going to tell you about who to call in. We're going to be talking about whenever you purchase a new home and the importance of having an inspection of your fireplace and chimney system when you do this. So stick around. We're going to play the intro music and we'll be right back and we'll have Tom on here and we'll start our conversation tonight. So, good evening, Tom. How you doing today, brother?
Good. How are you, Jerry? Thanks for having me on tonight.
Well, it is. We both had exciting days, as we know. We talked a little bit about before. I had a little excitement today. You've been out, had a long day out sweeping chimneys and doing your thing out there in Des Moines. So I appreciate you being with me today. So, Tom, before we get started, I believe you are a military veteran, and let's tell folks a little bit about what you did in the military, and then how long you've been in the chimney business and that type of stuff.
So, Jerry, I'm current president of National Chimney Sweep Guild, and I was in the Army 25 years, joined in 1978, and got out in late of 2002, early 2003. At that time, when I was transitioning out of the Army, I was working for the United States Army Recruiting Command. I was a director of operations for the Des Moines Recruiting Battalion, and covered areas throughout in Recruiting Command. We covered territories, so I covered Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois, and had about 175 recruiters underneath me, working in different venues across the states, recruiting people for today's Army.
Got you covered. So when did you go into the chimney sweep industry, Tom? How long you been doing that now?
Well, I during that 2002, 2003 transition out of the Army, that's when I kind of made the decision that I wanted to go into the chimney sweep business. So it was kind of a surprise. Most of the guys in Recruiting Command, they become recruiters for schools, or they become recruiters for big firms, or they go into the insurance industry. A lot of my friends are vice presidents in like Mutual of Omaha and Wells Fargo and things like that. And I was the odd man. I said, no, I had enough sitting in an office. I wanted to get out into the world and meet people. And because I'm always enjoyed meeting my customers, and I enjoyed meeting recruits at that time. So in 2002, 2003, I started Top Notch Chimney Sweep here in Des Moines, and I've been at it ever since.
Got you covered. Now, what about your volunteer involvement? You are the president of the National Chimney Sweep Guild. That's a seat that I've actually held some 25 years ago. I sat in that seat for about 6 years. So how long have you sat there, and how long have you been involved in the leadership of the NCSG, which is short for, and this is a trade association of chimney sweep companies across the country. Am I correct?
You are correct. We are a member-driven organization. We have roughly between 950 and 1,000 members that we're responsible to. That we are set up in regions. Those people who want to run for office and be a part of the National Chimney Sweep Guild leadership are elected by their members. So it is members voting for members to become directors for the National Chimney Sweep Guild. And we get quite a number of people across the country interested in participating. We've seen a dramatic change in the philosophy of the organization as far as working with our members, committee members. Our committees are full. We used to be, you could hear crickets, but now everybody's involved. We got a lot of positive feedback, and we got a lot of positive movement forward for the chimney industry. And our goal as Chimney, as the leader in the industry, is to keep an eye on what's going on in the community and in the national level, and addressing those concerns of our members, to whether it be elected leaders and people across the board, from local government to national.
Got you covered. So we're going to come back to that in a little bit as we talk about how to get the right person to do this fireplace chimney inspection we're talking about tonight. So Tom, the subject matter tonight is basically real estate transfers when someone buys a new home, and where the National Fire Protection Association, in their standard, not the National Chimney Sweep Guild, but the NFPA, which is an association of fire chiefs, building code officials, they recommend that every time that the property is sold, that it has an inspection of the fireplace and chimney. So Tom, why is that an important thing for people to consider when they're buying a new home?
Well, Jerry, in the world of chimney sweeping and inspecting, often when we come into the home as chimney sweeps, we're already greeted by the homeowner who just purchased the house or maybe bought the house last year, who immediately says to us, the home inspector looked at it and said it was fine. And we try to explain to the homeowner that when the home inspector says it's fine, he's only doing a visual inspection of the chimney. Whereas the chimney sweep, we do a level 2 inspection. That is with an interior camera that goes up the chimney and looks at the components, the chimney lining, the chimney smoke chamber, the lentil, the damper. We look at all the components of the fireplace in that inspection process. We look for defects. Builders have a tendency to think they know it all, and so let's say they'll put a hearth on a fireplace with only 10 inches of clearance when 18 inches of clearance is required. So we point out to the homeowner the defects, and then recommend repairs if needed. If no repairs are needed, then we tell the homeowner at that time that all the components are where they're supposed to be. Everything looks and appears like it normally should, and you should be fine to operate your chimney.
Correct.
And we'll do that in a report.
Correct. Now, a while ago, I mentioned something called NFPA, and this is a copy of the NFPA 211 standard. And the 211 standard covers chimneys, fireplaces, vents, and solid fuel burning appliances. And that would be something like a wood stove, something that is using solid fuel. So that's what's governed into that. So back in the year 2000, the NFPA added into their standard, which is the standard of care that our industry goes by, that there are 3 levels of inspection. Now, Tom mentioned home inspectors. And so everybody will know that's watching this, I actually train both home inspectors and I train chimney sweeps and chimney inspectors for real world practice. But what a home inspector is looking at, Tom, is what we refer to in the level 1 as readily accessible portions of the chimney. In other words, the home inspector is not actually going to inspect past the fireplace damper, and they're not actually required to get onto the roof. Am I correct in what I'm saying there?
You're absolutely correct. And we're finding it more and more that home inspectors are not accessing the roof in their normal inspection. They're not getting on the roofs. They're using other equipment to do a visual inspection of the venting systems that are exiting at the rooftop, or the shingles, or they're doing that. So they're not getting up to that level, and they're not required to do that. And that's where we try to get the homeowner to understand. Yes, he said visibly that was okay, but there's also a disclaimer somewhere in the paperwork, usually around page 45 or 47. It says it's only what is clearly visible, not what cannot be seen by the naked eye. And that's where it differs. We're in the chimney season now. People are lighting their fireplaces, and a lot of them do so with the belief that the home inspector did a complete inspection of the chimney, and that's not the case. So they end up with having issues, and those issues are maybe smoke back in the house, or sadly to say, maybe an ignition or an open area that catches the home on fire. And we're trying as certified sweeps to make sure that those people, the homeowner, is protected against that kind of damage to their home.
Correct. And we got a couple people join us that are making comments, Tom. One is a friend of mine in California. He's actually in the automobile industry. So he said the Fireplace show looks hot, got it, hot temperature like a fireplace. And another person watching right now is my friend and yours, James Owens, who's the owner of Owens Chimney Systems in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is right down the road from where I'm sitting at in my office in Concord, North Carolina right now. So appreciate you guys joining us. If you feel that what we're offering is value tonight, please feel free to share this on your own social media pages. Now, Tom, whenever a home inspector goes in, like I said, it's very similar to what we call a level 1 inspection. Okay. And under a level 1 inspection, basically we're inspecting what we call the readily accessible portions of the chimney interior and exterior. Now, to bring that into play, what that means is readily accessible means there's no tools being used, and the latter is classified as a tool. So what we're looking at here under the level 1 and also under the home inspector's standard of care, there's really not a requirement to check the interior of that flue system or to check above the roof at all. Am I correct on that?
You are correct. You are correct. And our goal is that in NFPA 211, it requires a level 2 inspection for any real estate transaction to happen. And that level 2 inspection, I equate it to, it's the best visual inspection a homeowner can ever have, because you see the problem. Many times people shine a light and say, yeah, it looks okay, and out the door they go. Whereas if you can see it on a camera, it's that much easier for you to understand the damage within the chimney and avoid or to avoid possible damage to the home further with continued use, or to even start using it. So that's our goal. As far as when we're in the home, we're trying to make the homeowner aware of any defects. If there's no defects, great. If there are, what they are and how to go about fixing them.
Correct. Now, what we go into when we go into a level 2, and this is part of NFPA's recommendations for this home sale or home transfer, whatever it could be, is that we have this level 2 done. And this is classified under what we call accessible areas of the chimney, the fireplace. And what this means is, unless it physically is impossible to do, then that inspector is going to go under the house. They're going to go into the basement. They're going to go into the attic. They're going to get on the roof, and they're going to be taking a camera, which is an interior video inspection device, and they're going to lower it into the chimney flue and look at the interior from mere inches or less than an inch away. Tom, do you feel like I pretty adequately described what's done in a level 2?
Absolutely. And then most of the equipment today now allows for capture of video and both pictures while the camera is inside the flue, the chimney flue. So the homeowner, again, not only gets a visual that if they'd like to sit next to you and watch the camera go up, which we encourage people to do. We want you to be a part of the inspection process so that you can readily answer. Most of the time, it's a housewife who's there and says, my husband's going to ask me what's going on. So I say, please come sit down. It makes it that much easier when she sees a picture on a report that says, here's where he was pointing to. This is bad. This needs repair. And I make it sound worse, but it's, again, all safety related items to make sure that it's an open flame in your home. That's the idea. Most people forget about or lose track of how it is an open flame. You're starting a fire in your house, and you need to do that where all the products of that combustion of that fire stay inside the fireplace and inside the flue until it exhausts out the top.
Correct. Now, the things, and like I said, Tom, I've been teaching chimney sweeps for, seems like forever.
I think I went to two of your classes. So.
Yeah, it goes, right. But I've been instructing chimney sweeps for over half of my life out here doing this, as you're well aware. And the training I've done is a lot about how to note problems, such as if the chimney smoking back. In other words, is smoke spilling out. But a really big thing is one of the most important things, or excuse me, one of the most deteriorating factors of a chimney is rainwater entry and the resultant problem from that through what we call freeze thaw cycles. So, would you agree with me that water entry is often unknown until a knowledgeable inspector actually goes out and sees the signs of this? Would you agree with that statement?
I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Efflorescence, which is the transference of lime and mortar through the joints and through the brick that cementitious material. When water is affected inside the chimney, you can see more and more readily that kind of transition in the brickwork, missing mortar, and that's again we're in the chimney season. This is our common everyday call. Now suddenly everybody wants to use their fireplace, so everybody's looking up and they're going, "Hey, there's a bunch of mortar missing in my bricks, or the chimney doesn't look real straight, or there's no chimney cap up there." And that's more than anything. We go to a home, we say, "You don't have a chimney cap." And they go, "What's a chimney cap?" And we say, "That cover on the chimney." And then we'll open up the damper and we'll find several birds or maybe a squirrel that just didn't quite make it back out. And, in that cleaning process, we'll advise the homeowner, listen, you need to cover the chimney. You need to protect it so that water infiltration, because water infiltration is the biggest cause of damage, like you said, within the industry. That's where people have more problems than ever.
Right. And another thing, Tom, a lot of people have a small chimney cap that just covers the flue area. And one of the things is many times this doesn't cover and give you the complete protection. Think of it like you're walking in the rain and you got a hat on. Well, the top of your head right here may stay dry till that cap gets soaked through, but at the same time, your shoulders are going to be getting wet and soaked in pretty good. I'm sure you went through that when you was in the Army a lot of times, probably out
Oh,
marching in the rain. Would that be correct?
oh yeah, oh yeah. We were always thankful to have a poncho, and for
Correct.
a chimney cap that covers the entire chimney surface, the entire, because you get a lot of people also, they say, "Hey, I only have one chimney inside or one flue in my chimney, and it serves multiple fireplaces." Well, that's not really the case. And again, we have to explain to the homeowner each fireplace has its own flue. So when you get up on the roof, if they have multiple fireplaces, they have multiple openings. Sometimes those openings are too close, so you can't cover each individual one, and you shouldn't. You should look at covering the whole chimney, so that as weather infiltrates and the chimney, it comes off the top of the chimney and falls off to the side.
Right.
So, and we're seeing more and more trends that business owners, chimney sweeps, in their orders are ordering more total cover caps, hip mounted caps, things like that are covering the chimney.
Right. It's like my friend James Owens that's on here right now, Tom. He
Yep.
is a company, service company owner. He also owns a company called Owens Manufacturing where they make chimney caps. And one of the things that's been coming out in the industry is chimney caps that provide this overhanging outside edge like an umbrella. And that's one of the products that James at his company makes. They call it the chimney helmet, I believe. But that was something that I invented actually about 12 to 15 years ago, and a company called Whitecaps first went to market with it. And a lot of people are selling this now under different brand names, but this is giving more total protection. And one
Right.
of the things, I did a show last week with Tom Urban on here. So about in that show, we were talking to people and telling them things that a consumer could look at on a chimney to detail that there are issues. And one of the things that I expressed last week was looking at discoloration on a chimney. In other words, if you look at your chimney and you see darkened areas on the chimney, that's telling us that we got water entry and being retained inside of that masonry. Would I be correct on that assumption, Tom?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, and now that we're seeing a lot of homes, eh, 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 the volume is kind of ratcheted up at this time of year. We are seeing more and more, and people want the repairs done immediately. So now is when we have to advise homeowners, if we don't have a crew available, that hey, listen, this is something we can't address now. we'll have to address it in the future and do our best to mitigate, to try to stop the damage from continuing while they're in the waiting process. Seems like COVID kind of have everybody backed up, and this year alone, we're just seeing in my business alone. I'm a small one truck operation, but the calls are between 50 and 75 a day, and I just thank God I don't have to answer them all. My daughter answers the phone, so I just keep telling her, "Good luck, do your best, keep your head down." And January will come soon enough, and things will slow down a little bit.
Well, everything about it. Right now, we live in a world of shortages, overwhelming shortages of products and other things, Tom. So we're not that unusual for many, many vendors to American consumers. I mean, you go out today, you want to order a new couch, you're probably going to wait. It's probably sitting in one of them containers floating around the ocean right now,
Absolutely.
appliances and other things. But also, let's keep going deep into this, because one of the things that consumers also need to look at is the rear wall of your fireplace. In other words, just take a look. And a lot of times when you look at that rear wall, you may find cracked brick, you may find deteriorated mortar, you may find pieces of brick have actually come off and you see this rough area. Well, that's also a sign that you got water entry into there. So, Tom, is there anything else that you would tell a consumer if they're listening to us right now that they would look for on their chimney or on their fireplace to say, hey, we got a problem?
If you open the damper on your fireplace, whether it be a handle that you open or a chain that you pull or whatever it may be, if you open it and a bunch of stuff falls out, that's not a good sign. That's a sign that you should get your chimney swept and inspected by a certified chimney sweep. I often see people, they say, well, it all fell out when I opened the damper. Well, not sometimes it all doesn't fall out.
Right.
And that's the homeowner that goes, they call you first because they need the inspection report for the insurance company. And then their second call was to service master because they got to clean up the house. So if something falls out of your chimney or your fireplace just don't look right, call a professional. We're highly trained. We're highly skilled. We've seen this hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of times. So call somebody who's qualified.
There you go. Now, additional things, and so consumers are aware of this. You know, the type of mortar that's used inside of chimneys, codes and standards have changed their requirements going back into the 80s and into the 90s of the last century, because a lot of fireplaces are built with a normal mortar, just like you would lay brick with to lay on the outside of the house. And it could be called a type N or a type S mortar. But back in the 80s and 90s, codes and standards started seeing that this type of mortar was not holding up in the chimney environment. So at that point, we had specified that you had to use a non-water soluble refractory mortar. And that means it's not broken down by water and it is a high temperature mortar. So, Tom, is this a problem that a lot of times we have water getting into a chimney and it actually washes the mortar out between the flue tiles that line that chimney? Is that a problem?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We see that time and time again, that mortar has dissipated. There's a gap between each tile, and the products of combustion are not going, they're going in through those cracks. They're building up in those areas behind the flue tile that are open, that can receive that. But we also see it inside of fireplaces. The people say, well, my chimney doesn't leak. Well, you know what? It's leaking on the back side of your fireplace, on that shelf that's behind the damper. And that water filtrates down, filtrates through the brick, and then that refractory mortar just kind of falls out because it's only a thin pencil line holding it together. So we see that all the time. And there's two types of fireplaces. The people need to understand that there's masonry fireplaces and prefabricated fireplaces. Some people have bricks. Some other people have masonry blocks that are refractory panels inside the fireplace. So you have to, again, that's why you would always call a professional to come and look. You know, don't just assume.
Yeah. James has put a good comment up there that I think is very true. Since the pandemic hit and consumers are working from home have noticed smells and dripping of water, we have been busy with these type of calls. Great comment, James. Appreciate you adding that in there because that's another important thing. If you are seeing that when you use your fireplace and the next day you have this smoky odor or the odor of ashes, that is telling us that you have a problem. You have a pressure problem in your home. And again, this needs to be checked out. And this is an amazing fact, Tom. And this is based on, as you know, you probably think, have I done a lot of research in chimneys and fireplaces, you think, Tom, in
Oh,
my
I think
career?
you've done a few. You've cracked a book here and there. I think.
There
Yeah, I
you
think.
go. So my estimate is, Tom, and this is based on a lot of studies, the available manpower to do it, and the number of homes in America. But in my opinion, I feel like less than 3% of the American homes that have a fireplace or and a chimney have ever had that unit properly swept and inspected. Would you agree with my opinion on that?
Yes, I would because we see it again. I see it being out in the field. I'm a chimney sweep, just like the technician who comes to your home for a larger company. I'm that same guy, and I go to homeowners where they say, "Well, it's been 20 years since I had this chimney swept," or we've been here 30 years and we've never had it cleaned. The homeowner is surprised suddenly when you say, "Oh, you have tremendous creosote, which is a byproduct of the burn process." And they're making houses tighter and tighter every year. That homeowner who doesn't want a little that draft in their house, they're tightening it. They're insulating new windows, new doors, more insulation, new drywall. So we find homeowners say, the chimney is smoking back in the house. Well, they forgot that the lights need oxygen, the refrigerator needs oxygen, the stove, everything in your house operates with the use of oxygen. So if you're not, if your house is too tight and there's not enough ventilation to help the fire breathe, it takes it by the past the least resistance and pulls the smoke right back down to feed itself.
Okay. So there you go, folks. What we try to do is share with you some of the things. But here's the next question, Tom, for a lot of these people is, well, who do I call? Okay, they go to the Yellow Pages, and one of the things that I always recommend is look for company reviews on Google, on Facebook, and make sure because if they're doing a good service, you're going to see that usually they have reviews from their customers. These are testimonials. So that would be one of my first pieces of advice. Would you agree with what I just said
I
there?
would agree with that as well. Testimonials tell the story of the company and their employees. Um, Not everybody's perfect. I'm far from it. So the reviews that bear them out as professional and quality. Sometimes they may have one review that he didn't call me back during the busy season. Um, People understand that, they realize that. So that review process is integral. I ask every customer for a review. Now I don't get a review from every customer, but those who do leave reviews understand that, and I appreciate that they take the time, and I respond to them for thanking them, telling the next person, hey, he's still the same guy. He sweeps the chimney, inspects, he talks to us. He's not in and out the door and nothing, nothing said.
Right.
So
So that's one of the things to be looking for. And honestly, I feel like that if a company is in this industry, if they are providing a service, then that company should be a member company of the National Chimney Sweep Guild. Do you agree with that assessment, Tom?
I would encourage everybody that is a business owner or is running their own business um, to become a member of the National Chimney Sweep Guild because we work for the overall industry. We monitor what's going on. Our government affairs committee is always looking at what changes there happen. In fact, I wrote a recent article for our sweeping magazine, and I just did a quick search for cert, um, legal justification for certified chimney sweeps, and you're seeing more municipalities requiring some type of certification to provide service within the communities that they're representing, and that could be public safety as well.
Okay, so we got that. So what we're looking for is number one, look for the reviews. And the two places I would tell you to look is Google reviews and also look on Facebook reviews as far as that goes. Now, you may find other reviews out there, but those would be the two main ones that I concentrate on. The next thing is that they are a member company of the National Chimney Sweep Guild. Because if they're a member company, that means that they are helping to change codes and standards. Just like right now, I just talked about Nfpa 211. Well, the National Chimney Sweep Guild, y'all have, I believe, 3 to 4 code changes, or excuse me, standard changes coming in the next year that Jim Brewer, who's your representative to 211, is implementing there. I've looked at them and they look pretty good. They look like something that we need, Tom. So
Yep.
that's going to be it. But we also want to go further. You know, I'm a trainer, I'm a coach, and I got, believe it or not, Tom, I've got over 770 courses online. So what we're looking for also is someone that is skilled as far as the technician. So can you share with people what is the cert? You just said a while ago about certification. What are the marks that people should be looking for of that technician that comes knocking on their door or rings their doorbell? What's that? What is that? What's that certification they need to be looking for, Tom?
Well, in our industry, there's certain milestones that people will make while they're becoming certified. The initial certification, the study for the exam, becoming a basic chimney sweep or a basic certified chimney professional, whatever they're, or NFI professional. There's different certifying bodies. There's the NCSG. We are a certifying body for the certified chimney professionals. We have the Chimney Safety Institute of America. They are another certifying body. And we have NFI, which is another certifying body. They all provide a standard that has to be met so that the basic chimney sweep understands the working components of a fireplace and all the intricate components of it, so that they can readily do the job of sweeping the chimney and inspecting the components, and in return tell the homeowner what the problems are or not. So
Gotcha. So let's go a little deeper in that, because I want you to talk a little bit about that. The NCSG, the National Chimney Sweep Guild, saw that there were some holes in the certification program, both with yours and with the CSI. If we're just going to lay it down the brass tacks here, and I was a person that y'all talked to about this, and we discussed the need for an accredited certification, which is not an easy process, nor is it an inexpensive process that the National Chimney Sweep Guild is now undergoing in order to get your certification accredited by a certification body by the name of ANSI. Do you want to add to this or address this accredited certification that you guys are moving forward with at the National Chimney Sweep Guild?
well, you're absolutely correct. We did notice that there was some shortfalls, things that we could do to improve the industry, to improve our own certification for our members, and for those in the industry. So the NCSG is kind of in a unique situation in where we're a member company, but we also have credentialed sweeps out in the field. So we looked at our testing and our study material, and we thought, how are we going to make it better for those people that are coming to us to be certified? How are we going to make it better for them to be better qualified, to be better equipped to enter the home and have the correct answers for the homeowner when they're faced with things that the homeowner has no idea of? So ANSI allows us the ability to look at the overall industry, look at the study material, and get an independent audit of how to better improve the study material. We just had a recent group meeting in Chicago where 15 of our subject matter experts got together, talked about what it is to be a chimney sweep, what's expected of them, what kind of questions they face in the home, but also what the job details and entails. You can teach anybody the exam. It's a fact. It just is what it is. If you study, you can learn. The book process can teach you. This process allows us as an ANSI accredited organization not to teach the test, but to teach the philosophy behind the test and get the questions answered for that sweep in the field, and make it easier for him to understand the process of studying for the exam as it will be developed. So we took our first steps. Actually, there's going to be an industry-wide questionnaire that's going to be coming out shortly, and then we'll have our next round where we'll have another group of people looking at the questions. How do we make the questions reasonable and understandable, and not given the answer, but also not taking away the ability to understand the question and getting it right, getting it wrong.
Got you covered. So y'all are doing this, Tom, in order to provide a higher level of professionalism to the American consumer. Am I seeing this correctly? Am I
Absolutely.
understanding?
And we also see that legislators in many different areas now look at accreditation as a standard, as an independent standard of being qualified, just like your plumber, just like your electrician. And I hate to refer to that, but that is the world we live in. Those people are their study material and their knowledge gained through a study process is accredited in certain areas of what they do. So ANSI has a wide following, is well recognized. This is not something that people never heard of. Many legislators have already heard about this. They understand it. And if we can make our members competitive in the marketplace, and being competitive meaning that legislator understands he's a qualified, accredited member, then that makes it that much easier for anybody we often find legislators write policy without any regard to the people providing the service.
Okay. So, Tom, while you were talking in the comments, I have put in the website address for the National Chimney Sweep Guild, the Chimney Safety Institute of America, and also for the National Fireplace Institute. Those are ncsg.org, csia.org, and nfi.org. Now, when it comes to the inspection of chimney systems, that's going to roll back to NCSG and to CSIA. NFI, they are a certifying body of installers. So what we want to say here is, if you're going to have a new wood stove installed or a new gas stove, any type of hearth appliance, then an NFI certified installer is who you want to be calling for that. If you're needing maintenance inspection of your system, then you want to be contacting NCSG or contacting CSI. Would you agree with what I just said, Tom?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. CSIA and the NCSG, we have a long history within the industry. We've been around for over 40 years. The NCSG, the CSIA was a branch developed from the NCSG, but they've been educating the marketplace people to become chimney sweeps for many years. And this, since the NCSG got involved in the educational process, we now provide that same quality of study and that same quality of education to our members as well.
Right. And so you're aware, I have, I was also in my much earlier years, goes back, I was also president of the Chimney Safety Institute of America, also for a period of 6 years. So these are organizations that have worked hard and are trying to make things much better for American consumers and helping to raise the expertise of the chimney inventing professionals of America. So anyway, Tom, is there anything else you would add into our broadcast tonight to help our listeners?
Just remember, if you open a damper and something falls out, please call a certified professional, whether it be CSIA or NCSG. Give us a call. We'd be glad to come. There's technicians all over the country. There's big businesses, small businesses. Just give us a call.
Okay, Tom, I'm gonna tell your wife to put that on your tombstone if something happens to you. Okay, if something falls out of your chimney, you need to call a chimney sweep.
That's
Okay,
right. You need to
so
call a chimney sweep.
we
There's a
got
problem somewhere.
we got a new quote from Mr. Tom Hunkel from Des Moines, Iowa. Okay, so anyway, James just put on here great information, guys. Thank you, James. We
Thanks,
appreciate
James.
that. Appreciate you guys being on here, Tom, we got a lot of likes and we got a couple loves on our broadcast tonight. So here's the whole thing. This show is sponsored by the CBC Success Group, and we do this show for one reason, and that is to help and assist American consumers in knowing better. Now, if you look here, as the gentleman done, I'm in Canada. I'm a licensed brick stonemason and a sweat certified sweep since 1988. And I'm on multiple sites. I see so many code difference between your codes and ours. Looks like you professionals are behind, Tom. And actually, Randy, you are right. The Canadians have moved significantly forward there. In fact, I know a lot of Canadians, and I've even taught classes before in Canada and attended some of your shows up there. But yes, the Canadian government has been much more on, and you have your wet program there. In fact, I've got some really good friends, such as Ziggy, that's involved in wet, and other people, but a very true statement. And that's why we're working to change a lot of the codes, but it is two different countries. So, again, if you are listening and you're in Canada, then you need to be looking up for an installer that is certified by WET, which is WETT, would be the Canadian certification. You know, Randy, so you'll know, I was in Niagara Falls just a couple weeks ago, and there was the border right there, and Toronto was right on the other side where I was teaching. So, but hey, the border was closed because of COVID, so I couldn't come over because I'd have really loved to see the Canadian side of Niagara Falls because y'all got a lot better views from your side than we have on the American side. So, Tom, I appreciate you joining me here tonight,
Thanks for
my
having me.
brother. It's always helpful to have you here and to spread this. No, it's a long day for you, so I appreciate you working this in the schedule. And my
No,
name is Jerry Eisenhower. Like I said, our company is CBC Success Group. We are a coaching, training, consulting company. We're based in Charlotte, North Carolina, but we work the entire United States, all 48 states. So let us know. Go to our website, www.cbcsuccessgroup. Let us know if we can help you out in any way to turn your business dreams into your business realities. And with time, with that, we are out of here, brother. I appreciate it.